Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Asgard. And I'm coming back with another older retro review of a film back from 2002. Another one of the films. I believe it was Bruce that sent it to me. I always get caught up with this because every now and then someone else sends me a movie, but most of my collection is definitely made up of Bruce movies. And so I still want to shout out Bruce almost every single time I make a video like this. But today I'm doing a review for Treasure Planet, which is a Disney animated film from 2002 that I think has just become so lost almost. It's a film that I had actually never seen before in my entire life. I'd always heard about it. I've already seen like the cover of it with the ship, and it always looked intriguing to me. But it wasn't until, of course, until I actually saw it when I realized that it was a complete variation of the original novel, Treasure Island, right? And the original, obviously the original novel, which of course led to several movies being made by it. And I loved this movie. I loved it. I thought that from the very beginning, I was hooked by it because the animation style, there's just something about old school 2D animation where it just looks like that, it has that hand-drawn feel to it because a lot of it is hand-drawn, and it almost at certain points looked like that there was a small sequence in the movie where they may have used some type of 3D rendering, but you can tell that the rest of the film is just so beautiful to look at. And I really wish that studios, Disney would go back to its old roots, and other studios too would be able to go back and do these more hand-drawn, hand-style animations, because yeah, they might take a little bit more time. Yeah, it might take a little bit more skill, but that's what makes it magical, because you can do so many things and you have this color palette and just this specific style and movement of the characters that just it just makes me feel like home, because it reminds me of all the movies that I watched when I was younger with that same hand-drawn animation style. And so that's the first thing I put down in my notes, was like the just complete beautiful animation. Like, for those that don't know, I've been condensing my files, rather. I've been creating my own Plex movie library. And so what I've been doing is I've been ripping all the Blu-rays that I have, and then in order to make space and also in order for it to play correctly, since I have a very low-grade server, I've had to compress them into .h65, and anyone out there who knows anything about tech will have an understanding of what I mean by that. But I've also had to condense the files, and I've always wanted to try and keep as much quality as I can. Obviously some people can say, how dare you compress the files? The reason why is because I tried playing one of the 20 gigabyte files of one of the smaller Blu-rays that I owned through my Plex Media server, and for some reason it just wouldn't really play it back. I might have to play around with that, because if I can just keep it in the MKV file and play it naturally at its highest source and at its highest frame rate and it worked perfectly, then I will absolutely do that. But I will say that even with compression and even with that being put into a smaller file, the animation still looks great. And I think that just is a testament to how legitimate and how great this type of animation style is. Voice acting, also fantastic. Joseph Gordon-Levitt does the voice of Jim Hawkins, and just does a great job with it. Definitely a younger, this is back in 2002, so almost 18 years ago at this point. So imagine Joseph Gordon-Levitt 18 years ago. So he's definitely would have been, I guess, in his teens at that time, or at least, very, very young, much younger than what he is now, even though he's still a pretty relatively young guy. And so I thought he did a great job. Martin Short comes in playing and doing the voice acting for a robot named Ben, and it's just hilarious. I love Martin Short. Anytime he does voice work, he has such a unique style about him, and it's always just so much fun to see him do that. It reminds me a little bit of him and his work. Him and I believe it was Steve Martin did voice work for the Prince of Egypt. They played two of the priest of the Egyptian priest in that movie, and just even then in a more, I guess, serious role, you could just tell that they had so much fun working together. And anytime that he does a role, it's just always fun to see. What I love about this movie, though, is the fact that it is a modern adaptation. And this is something that we've talked about on the streams a lot, is if we are able to take films and not necessarily remake them shot for shot, because that happens so often, but if we're able to take the spirit of a story and then be able to adapt it into something truly special, that could end up being a good way to make a movie. And that's what they do here for Treasure Planet. And I think that Disney, I think it was Tina or someone in the channel who's mentioned that this is a film that got basically destroyed by Disney, where they made the film, they put all this money behind it, of course, to get it made, but then they didn't promote it. They just didn't want to push it for some reason, and so it just didn't make that much money because of that, because they just didn't have any confidence in it. And it turned out to be, I would say, one of their better animations, because of both the beauty of the animation style, the beauty of the craft behind the animation, the voice acting, and I would even say the story too, because if you know the story of Treasure Island, imagine that, but in space, but in almost like a future with aliens and with just different variations of the story too. I think it definitely takes some liberties with it, especially with the relationship between Long John Silver and Jim Hawkins, but I like it that way. I think that it develops this father-son relationship that he's been missing out in his life because his father walked out on him, and it just creates this really great dynamic. And even though, as most of these animations are, it's only about an hour and a half, that's the other thing too, is that it's a shorter animation, which used to be a lot more common during the heyday of Disney. And it seems like this may have been one of the last films during the heyday of Disney before they switched over to 3D animation. And of course, nowadays we live in a time of just a lot of soulless stories that sometimes try to push politics, but this is just great. Some might try and say that they were maybe the kind of the starting points of seeing politics because the captain is a woman, but because it takes place in this different time and it takes place in this alien planet, it's totally fine. Not to mention, they don't hit you over the head with it too, like, because that's not the problem that a lot of us have with these modern animations. It's not because of, oh, this character is this or this character is that. It's, oh, this is the way this character is, and we're gonna hit you over the head with it, right? If this movie was made today, there would be like 5,000 references to the fact that the captain was a woman, but they never do. Basically, it's all someone else is assumed to be the captain, and then all of a sudden she says, oh no, it's actually, then he says, oh, I'm the captain, and then she's revealed, which I think is the most tasteful way to actually do it without pushing any type of agenda. So that was great. There were some other great voice actors in there. I recognize their voices, but I don't have their names in front of me. As I said, I always love to do these reviews raw, right after seeing them, to try and give my instant raw thoughts, because I think that those reviews tend to be the most honest, instead of me diving into finding out more about the film. Like, as I said, I made reference to the thing that I believe it was Tina that told me about Disney burying the film, but I don't want to go too much into that because that'll, I think, affect the way I feel about it overall. As far as any cons to the movie, there's really only one, and that's that at one point in the movie, probably about the halfway point, there's a song that plays, and it's a modern style song. Now, I like the song. It's got a catchy rhythm, a catchy beat to it, but it just took me out of the movie for a little bit because the score of this film is really good. It's fantastic. It's swashbuckling, right? It has that pirate-esque theme to it. However, there's then this modern song that comes in, and it just takes you out of the movie for just a little bit because you're like, I like this song, it's very catchy, and they play a similar song in the credits, if not the same exact song, and you're like, man, this is so good, this is so great. As the ending song, I think it actually kind of works. But when it goes in the middle of the movie like that, and it's modern, and it just takes you out again about, even though it's this futuristic world, and even though it's not the typical swashbuckling world that we're used to of pirates, it feels that way, and they try to make it feel that way because all of these aliens, right? They wear the pirate hats, but instead of it being the skull and crossbones, instead of it's an alien skull instead, and it's just great. I mean, this is a film that I would definitely want to go over and watch over and over again. It's a film that I know that I would love to show my kids one day. So Bruce, thank you so much for sending it my way. And if you've not seen Treasure Planet, I recommend it. If you like Treasure Island and you want to see a different variation of it, maybe if you want your kids to witness a version of Treasure Island, but you think some of the original stories might be a little too dated for them or might be too intense for them, might be a great way to introduce them to the characters and to the story, because I think they do a really great job with this film. So Treasure Planet, I'm going to give this film, another one of the day, a solid A. Again, I think it's fantastic. The only issue, of course, being that modernized song that they play in the very beginning, or rather, I guess towards the beginning, middle, or right around the middle of the movie. But I recommend it. Have you seen Treasure Planet? Please let me know in the comments section below and what your thoughts are on Treasure Planet. If you've not seen it, again, it's a 2002 Disney animation, old school 2D Disney animation. So you know that it's gonna be good because there's not really a whole lot of old school 2D animations from Disney that were bad. And it just kind of makes you realize how great Disney used to be. Like, even though it's an adaptation of a story, one, they give credit to the story that they're adapting, unlike some of their other films where they clearly rip off other movies and then claim it as their own, which is something that also unfortunately happened during the heyday of Disney, because even when they were giving us films like The Lion King, guess what? The story had been done previously, but they didn't want to say anything about that. So you have that, but you also just have that incredible 2D animation style that I really want Disney to go back to, but because we live in the age of CGI nonsense, probably won't be getting anytime soon. I guess all we can do is look to studios like Studio Ghibli and other studios like that are still producing these beautiful movies like it, because it's not just a kids movie. I think this is a great family movie, and family movies are something that we need a lot more of because we get enough of those kids movies, but parents need something to be entertained by too, and this one has it in droves. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about this and all the things talked about in the comment section below. Like this video, smash the like button, hit that subscribe. It helps me out a lot. This is my secondary channel, but I'm going to start to try to do more reviews like this. I kind of feel motivated right now to watch more movies and do more of these kind of like mini reviews. on this channel. And so please, show some love. Let me know that you want to see more of it, and let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you want me to see or check out. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my November Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, Father Damian Cook, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jay, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Camille, Laura Story ×2, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, or Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe, and Garrett Searles. Thank you all for being my Patreon members, and a shout out, of course, to my Subscribe Star members: Stan 4, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nabadan G. Adams, and ZK-Man, and Andrew Hoyle. Thank you to my Subscribe Star and Patreon members for supporting me for this month. I hope that you are enjoying your perks of getting access to things like a podcast, to giveaways, and also, of course, to other exclusive content. I know I've fallen a little bit behind with the birth of baby Thor, and so I thank you very much for your patience and, of course, for your continued support. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.